The forgotten RPG that bridged World War II to Vietnam? Yeah, this Soviet shoulder-fire tube was the scrappy middle child between the Panzerfaust's desperate one-shot and the RPG-7's endless fury. It turned captured German scraps into a weapon that shredded tanks from Budapest to the jungles, but was it a clever bridge or just a hasty copy? Let's unpack it, because if the Panzerfaust was the Wehrmacht's backyard bomb, the RPG-2 was the Red Army's quick fix that stuck around longer than anyone expected. All right, let's rewind to the smoke and scrap of late World War II, because the RPG-2 didn't spring from thin air, it was pieced together from the bones of fallen foes. By 1945, the Red Army's marching into Berlin, grabbing every Panzerfaust and Panzerschreck they can haul. These German anti-tank gadgets, the Faust's simple tube that anyone could fire once, and the Schreck's reloadable rocket that needed a bit more grit were game changers against Allied armor. Soviet engineers, eyeing the wreckage, thought, not bad, but let's make it ours. Design kicked off in 1947 at the Bazalt Bureau in Moscow, with the RPG-1 as a rough first swing, a clunky 30mm launcher cribbed from the Panzerfaust's recoilless vibe. It flopped hard, short range, weak punch, so by 1954, they nailed the RPG-2, blending the Faust's no-fuss booster charge with the Schreck's tube for reloads, plus Soviet tweaks like a Venturi muzzle to tame the backblast. Officially the Ruchnoy Protivotankovyy Granatomet, it hit squads that year, just as the Cold War chilled over Europe. Over 1.5 million made by the 60-seconds, churning from factories in Tula and Kovrov like potatoes in a harvest. This wasn't lab fluff, it saw grit in Hungary 56, where revolutionaries and Red Army alike used it to poke holes in Soviet BTRs during the uprising. I paged through a faded Soviet field guide on it once, greasy fingerprints on the diagrams, showing crews in wool coats, bracing it on shoulders, aiming for tracks in snowy streets. It bridged that World War II hangover to Vietnam's heat, where Viet Cong turned captured RPG 2 seconds on US patrols. In the Warsaw Pact, like East Germany's NVA we talked about before, it was standard kit, cheap, tough, and a reminder that German ideas fueled the Iron Curtain's firepower. The RPG-2 faded when the RPG-7 took over in 61, but not before proving that a dash of captured tech could arm half the world. Fun twist. Early tests in 54 mimicked Schreck backblast woes. Scorching a test range, Soviets fixed it quick, turning a German headache into their edge. Let's dig into the guts of the RPG-2, because this thing was a clever mashup that worked better than it had any right to. Imagine a shoulder tube about 1.2 meters long, weighing a manageable 7.5 kilograms unloaded, like toting a sturdy fishing rod with teeth. It's a recoilless grenade launcher, firing 40mm PG 2V rounds a shaped charge grenade with a booster that punches through 210mm of armor at 150 meters effective, up to 200 meters max. Velocity? Around 84 meters per second, slow but steady, with a flat arc thanks to stabilizing fins. Loading straightforward. Drop a grenade into the muzzle, cock the arming lever, it arms on launch, shoulder it, and squeeze the trigger. The booster kicks in after a meter, no recoil to the shooter, but that backblast, a fiery 10-meter cone, keep your buddies clear or watch singed eyebrows. Sights were flip-up irons, basic but effective for point and shoot up to 100 meters. Reload, 5 to 7 seconds, pop in another grenade and go up to 4 to 5 shots before the tube heats up. Cost? Pennies in Soviet terms, mass-produced from stamped steel, way cheaper than the Schreck's machined bits. Stack it against the Panzerfaust. The Faust was a one-way ticket recoilless tube with a booster charge, no motor, launching a 150mm warhead 30 to 60 meters with 200mm penetration. Super simple. Pedal trigger, fire from the hip, no skill curve. But once empty, you're done, which sucked in a prolonged scrap. The RPG-2? Reloadable, so squads could keep pressure on. Punch was similar early war, 210mm versus 200mm. But the RPG's range doubled the Faust's, letting you hang back from the tank's guns. Weight favored the RPG at 7.5 kilograms versus Faust's 3 to 6 kilograms variants, but that reusability made it squad essential. Production? Soviets hit 1 5M, Germans scraped 6M Fausts amid chaos, versus the Panzerschreck. Now that's the family feud. The Schreck was a 88mm rocket launcher, blasting 210mm at 150 meters, reloadable like the RPG-2, but with a motor for extra zip. Backblast was a killer without the shield early Shrek scorched crews, just like RPG-2 tests did. The RPG won on simplicity. No rocket fins to snag in mud, and its booster mimicked the Faust's no fuss launch. Accuracy? RPG-2's grenade was stabler in wind than the Shrek's rocket, but the German sights were sharper for precision hits. Downsides? RPG-2 overheated after 3 to 4 shots, 2 warped in heat, echoing Shrek barrel swaps. I handled a demilled RPG-2 tube at a show, once felt balanced like an old shotgun with secrets. Cocking it, smooth pull, but that backblast warning in the manual, keep clear or kiss your coke goodbye. The Soviets refined it too. PG-2 volts to PG-2 VP with better fuses for sloped armor, fixing a Shrek weak spot. It was the perfect hand-me-down. German reliability, Soviet scale. So, how'd this bridge builder hold up when the shooting started? It burst onto the scene in Hungary 56, where both sides turned RPG, 2s on each other, revolutionaries punching T, 55s in Budapest alleys, Soviets countering with it against barricades. Over 200 vehicles smoked in the chaos, proving the design's grit. By Vietnam's 60 seconds, NVA and Viet Cong made it infamous. Ambushes on Route 1, popping US. M113S from 100 meters, with one shot flipping an APC like a toy. Tactics were hit and run. 2-man teams in elephant grass, firing from the hip, relocating fast. Unlike the Panzerfaust's fire and flee suicide dash, the RPG-2 let you reload and press key in jungle skirmishes where a second shot meant survival. The Yom Kippur War 73 was its swan song. Arab forces with RPG-2s bloodied Israeli lines, bagging Centurions in the Sinai hundreds down before the RPG-7 took over. But it lingered in proxy fights, arming Mujahideen in Afghanistan 80 seconds against Soviet convoys. Fun fact, in 56 Hungary, a captured RPG, 2-grenade malfunction mid-reload, blowing the user's hand early fuses were touchy, echoing Shrek misfires. Shocker. During Vietnam Tet 68, an RPG 2-round glanced a Huey chopper, sparking fuel and downing it the first air kill by this launcher. Legacy? It armed Warsaw Pact armies like East Germany's NVA, where we dug into their copycat vibes before turning German scraps into Iron Curtain staples. Total takedowns? Unofficial 5,000-plus vehicles, from BTRs to Bradleys and later tweaks. Those Tet stories still give me chills. One farmer with an RPG-2 dropping a chopper from a rice paddy? Legend stuff. I'd snag the RPG-2 over a Faust for that reload edge, keeps you in the game longer. So that's the RPG-2 from Panzerfaust, scraps to Cold War icon, the overlooked link that armed uprisings and ambushes alike. The Soviets grabbed German know-how, simplified it, and shipped it from Hungary to Hanoi, proving evolution beats invention sometimes. Was it a hasty bridge or a smart step up? You decide. Would you reload with the RPG 2 inches, a scrap, or stick to the one-shot Panzerfaust? Drop your picks in the comments. I get a kick out of these gear showdowns. Oh, and if this feels like a psyop to glorify old tubes, maybe it is. Stay digging history, keep it real, and remember, the best weapons often start as someone else's leftovers. See you next up. More East German oddities if you're into that DDR deep dive.